The stars around the Imperial ship shimmered like distant fireflies as it hovered at the edge of Earth's solar system. Massive in size and armed with weapons that had crushed empires before, the ship was known as the Devourer, a symbol of fear across the galaxy. Inside, the crew moved with cold efficiency. Their mission was simple: send a message to Earth and demand access. As always, they expected no resistance. For the Galactic Empire, this was routine. For hundreds of years, every planet they contacted gave way. The moment the Empire arrived, rulers bowed, leaders surrendered, and passage was granted without question. Earth was just another planet on the list, another small world to pass through, to control if needed, or to ignore if convenient. Nothing special, or so they believed. The communication signal was sent on all known channels, a short, direct message. By order of the Galactic Empire, you will allow our ships to pass through your solar space. Resistance is not permitted. You have 20 Earth hours to comply. The officers waited for Earth's reply. Seconds passed, then minutes, then an hour. Nothing. Captain Relin, a veteran of over 50 planetary campaigns, frowned. He stood at the front of the command bridge, arms crossed. Strange, he muttered. They should have answered by now. Another hour passed, still no response. The bridge began to feel colder, even though the temperature hadn't changed. Officers glanced at each other. This wasn't right. Silence meant something, but no one could tell what. They may be primitive, said one officer. Maybe they don't understand the language protocols. Captain Relin shook his head. They understood. Earth's channels are active. They received the message. He stared at the blue-green planet on the screen. They're choosing not to answer. The mood grew tense. The Empire was not used to being ignored. Being resisted was rare, but being met with silence? That was new. The bridge doors opened with a hiss as Commander Vale entered. Younger than Relin but ruthless, she walked with sharp confidence. Any word? She asked. Nothing, said Relin. Vale laughed softly. No one ever says no to the Empire. At that moment, a soft beep echoed across the command room. A signal. Earth had responded. Everyone turned toward the main screen. The crew leaned in. The signal opened. A simple, clear message in Galactic Standard Language. Just 2 words. Not allowed. Silence fell over the bridge. Captain Relin's jaw tightened. Vile narrowed her eyes. Several officers looked around, unsure if this was a joke. It wasn't. No seal, no ambassador, no explanation. One officer whispered, "Just that?" Relin replayed the message. Same words. Same tone. Calm. Final. He stepped closer to the screen and stared at Earth, his voice low. Do they even know who we are? Vile's voice was colder now. Maybe they do. Maybe that's why they said it. The crew didn't speak. Somewhere, deep in the ship, the engines hummed louder, as if the machine itself had sensed the tension. Outside, Earth remained quiet, peaceful, untouched. Relin turned to his communications officer. Send a warning shot. Fire past the moon. Just enough to scare them. The officer hesitated. Captain, if I may, what if they're not scared? That question hung in the air like poison. The Galactic Empire was never refused, never ignored, but Earth had done both. With 2 simple words, they had pushed back against the most powerful force in the galaxy. Far above the quiet blue planet, the Empire's warship floated like a predator. But for the first time in a long time, it wasn't sure who the real predator was. Relin gave the order. Prepare a second message and ready the fleet. But as the crew moved, another signal came in. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a sudden energy spike. Somewhere in Earth's orbit, something activated, something hidden, something powerful. The sensors screamed, then went dead. And just like that, fear entered the heart of the Empire. This was no ordinary world. Earth had stayed silent not because it was weak, but because it was waiting. The Empire's warship floated above the edge of Earth's solar system, its dark metal body silent but threatening. Inside, the mood had shifted. What started as a routine mission was now something else, something unknown. Earth's short message, "Not allowed," still echoed in the minds of every crew member. No planet had ever dared to speak to the Empire that way. No planet had ever refused. Captain Relin paced the bridge, his boots clicking sharply against the polished floor. His voice was low but hard. "Prepare a second message. This time, we warn them." Commander Vale stood near the display, arms crossed. Her eyes watched Earth, cold and sharp. "Send a clear threat," she said. "They must understand what they're dealing with." Within minutes, the Empire's second message was ready. "Earth, your refusal has been noted. You have one final chance. Allow us safe passage or face consequences. You have 10 Earth hours." The message was sent. Across the stars, it shot through light waves, reaching Earth in seconds. The crew waited. All screens were focused on the planet. But again, nothing. Earth didn't answer. Captain Relin's face darkened. "They're testing us," Vial replied. "Then we test them back." She gave the order. "Send the scouts." 3. Fast, lightly armed scout ships detached from the Empire's main vessel. Sleek and sharp, they entered the solar system, heading toward Earth. Their mission was simple: scan the planet, show strength, return with data. It would take less than an hour. Everyone expected success. The scouts were the best, equipped, with stealth tech, weapons, and speed. They had done this on a dozen worlds, but this time, something went wrong. 20 minutes passed. No contact. The bridge grew quiet. "Try hailing them," Captain Relin said. The communications officer tapped the controls. Static. No response. 30 minutes. Still nothing. Then the lights flickered. Alarms began to flash. On the main screen, one of the scout ships appeared, just for a second. It was floating, silent, no damage on the hull. Then, without warning, it blinked out of existence. No explosion, no heat signature. It was just gone. A tech officer gasped. I don't understand. It vanished. Completely." Captain Relin's voice dropped. "Check the others." The second and third scout ships were gone too. No signals, no debris, no sign they had ever entered the system. Commander Vial stepped forward. "Are we being attacked?" "No," the weapons officer replied. "There's no sign of weapons fire, no impact, no energy spikes, except..." Everyone turned to him. He swallowed. "Except for something we can't identify. A strange wave pattern, like space itself bent around the ships before they disappeared." The crew looked at each other, unease spreading across every face. Something was wrong. Something deep. Something beyond their knowledge. Then a new signal arrived. It wasn't from Earth. It was from something orbiting it. A satellite? A hidden station? No one could tell. But the signal was clear. 3 warnings have now been given. No more. Captain Relin clenched his fists. 3? What were the first 2? Commander Vale answered slowly. First was the silence. Second was their message. This was the third. No one spoke for a long time. "Ready the battle fleet," Relin said at last. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed something rare for an Imperial officer: uncertainty. "Earth wants to play games. Let's show them what happens when you challenge the Empire." But deep inside, even Relin wondered, was this really a game? In another part of the ship, a junior officer sat alone at a monitor. He had been reviewing Earth's broadcasts, trying to understand the humans. At first, he saw images of their cities, their people, their wars. But then, he came across something stranger. Old video footage, human history, a planet that had survived. Plagues, wars, disasters, even self-destruction, and kept going. He watched humans rebuild cities after they burned. He watched them fight enemies 10 times stronger and still survive. He leaned back in his chair, shaken. "They're not afraid of us," he whispered, "because they've already faced worse." Back on the bridge, Earth still showed no movement. No defense ships, no weapons visible. But now, everyone on the Empire's ship felt it. This silence wasn't weakness. It was a warning, and they had just ignored it. Above the calm blue planet, the Empire's warship stood ready to strike. But far below the clouds, something ancient had started to move. Earth was waiting, and the real answer was yet to come. The battle fleet had arrived. 10 enormous warships now hovered near Earth's solar system, joining the Devourer. Their engines hummed like distant thunder, and their weapon systems glowed faintly in the dark. The Empire had never sent many ships for one planet before, not unless it was war. But Earth had pushed them too far. Inside the lead ship, Captain Relin stood before the main screen, his face hard. "Begin the final approach," he ordered. The bridge crew obeyed. Systems came alive. Shields activated. The fleet moved slowly into the solar system. Nothing from Earth, no warning shots, no defenses. It looked like an easy mission, but no one on board believed that anymore. Commander Vial stood beside Relin, arms folded. "Still no response from Earth?" "Nothing," said the communications officer. "But long-range scans show movement. Not ships, something under the planet's surface." Relin raised an eyebrow. "Underground?" "Yes, sir, and it's big." Back in the command center, the junior officer who had watched Earth's history looked more nervous than ever. He pulled up a video from years ago, images of Earth's deep underground bunkers, old nuclear tests, and strange experiments. Then, he found a record from an alien probe that got too close to Earth decades earlier. The probe had disappeared. He rushed to Relin. "Captain, permission to speak." Relin nodded. "I think Earth has a weapon. Not one we've seen before. It doesn't fire like ours. It doesn't look like much. But every time something gets too close, it vanishes. Quietly." Relin stared at him. "Are you saying Earth destroyed the scouts using silence?" "No sound, no light. Just gone," the officer said. "Like space swallowed them, Vial." Laughed once, bitterly. "We're an empire. We don't run from ghost stories." Relin didn't laugh. He was thinking. What if it's not a ghost story? What if it's a defense no one's ever seen because no one survived it? Just then, a new signal hit the Devourer. It wasn't words this time. It was a video feed. Everyone turned to the screen. A single human stood in front of a camera, middle-aged, calm, wearing no armor, holding no weapon. He looked directly into the camera. "My name is Commander Rains. I speak for Earth," he said. His voice was steady. Not loud. Not angry. Just clear. "You came here thinking we would surrender, that we would beg, that we would fear you. You were wrong." He took a breath. "You think strength is in your ships, your guns, your orders. But strength, real strength, is surviving the impossible and standing up again." He leaned closer. "You are not allowed, not because we fear you, but because we don't." Then the screen went black. No signal, no trace, nothing. The crew sat frozen. The silence that followed was worse than shouting. "Track that signal," Relin snapped. "We can't," replied the technician. "It wasn't from the surface. It was already inside our system. Maybe even our ship." Everyone turned at once. "How?" Vial asked. The technician shook his head. "I don't know." At that moment, the Devourer's lights flickered. Then came the sound. Not an alarm, not a weapon. It was a heartbeat, a low, deep beat. Slow. Human. Thump. 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 The sound echoed through every ship in the fleet. No one could explain it. The Rial. Computers didn't pick it up, but everyone heard it. "What is this?" Vial demanded. The weapons officer shouted, "Something's happening on Earth." All screens focused on the planet. Above Earth, something began to appear. Slowly. Not a ship, not a station, a shape. Massive. Hidden until now. Dark and silent, it rose from Earth's shadow like a mountain in space. No lights, no weapons visible. But the moment it came into view, every Imperial ship's sensors shut down. Then the voice returned. Not from a screen. Not from speakers, it was in their minds. "You were warned. And then the first ship disappeared. It didn't explode. It didn't drift. It simply vanished, just like the scouts. Then the second, then the third. Captain Relin watched in horror. "Retreat, now, get us out." But it was too late. The Empire had brought war to Earth, and Earth had finally replied. Captain Relin gripped the edge of the control panel as the Devourer trembled. One by one, the Imperial warships vanished from the fleet's radar. No fire, no wreckage, no energy blast. Just gone. "They're not being destroyed," whispered the weapons officer. "They're being erased." Reeland's voice was tight. "How? What kind of technology does that?" No one had answers. The bridge was silent except for the faint echo of that heartbeat, the strange, slow thump that no system could trace or block. Everyone heard it in their ears, in their bones. Some even said they felt it in their minds. The ship's lights dimmed again. Sparks flew from one of the panels. Systems flickered and tried to restart, but the controls no longer responded properly. Vale turned toward Rilan. "We need to retreat." Rilan didn't argue. "Send the order." But the moment the message left the ship, the main screen flickered. Again. Another video feed. The same man, Commander Rains, appeared on the screen. This time his expression was harder, his tone colder. "We gave you a warning," he said. "We offered silence instead of violence, but you forced our hand." The camera panned behind him, not to Earth, but to something buried deep below, its surface. It looked like a black sphere, larger than a city, surrounded by machines. A quiet hum filled the audio. Inside the sphere, something glowed. A shifting red light, like a storm trapped in glass. "We have built weapons not to conquer," Rains said, "but to protect. For centuries we've been ignored, forgotten. But Earth remembers everything." Then the screen cut to static. The bridge went dark, every console shut down. Only emergency lights stayed on, red and dim. The ship floated, helpless. They couldn't steer, couldn't fire, couldn't communicate. Then a strange feeling spread through the crew. It was like being watched. A soft whisper echoed, not a voice, not a language, but a presence. The junior officer from the history. Files collapsed, shaking. "It's not just tech," he said weakly. "It's something else. Something alive. The thing underground. I think it's not a machine." Reeland turned to him. "What are you saying?" The officer looked pale. "I think Earth woke up something. Or maybe something's been watching us through Earth this whole time." Suddenly, across the darkness of space, the giant shape above Earth moved. It was slow, graceful, almost like it was studying them. It didn't fire, didn't speak. But it made every living thing in the fleet feel one thing: dread. Vale muttered, "We should never have come here." Relin's voice was hoarse. "No, we should have listened." Then something unexpected happened. From Earth, another small ship launched. Just one. It was tiny compared to the Devourer, barely a speck, but it moved faster than anything they'd ever seen, and it flew directly toward the Devourer. "Is it armed?" someone asked. "No weapons detected," said the sensor officer. "Then what is it?" Vielle asked. The crew leaned forward as the tiny ship docked at their outer bay. They could hear the magnetic seal attach. Then came a loud clang, and silence again. Relin sent a team to investigate. The video feed showed soldiers moving down the corridor, nervous, fingers tight on their rifles. The door to the docking bay opened. Inside stood one human, a woman in a simple black uniform, no weapon, no armor, just calm. She raised her hand. "Hello," she said. The soldiers pointed their rifles. "Don't move." She didn't flinch. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to deliver a message." Relin watched the screen. "Put her through." A moment later, she stood on the bridge, unarmed, surrounded, and completely unafraid. Her voice was clear. "The Empire must leave this system, now." Vale stepped forward. "Or what?" She smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "Or Earth will show you what fear really means." Relin narrowed his eyes. What are you? The woman's eyes glowed faintly, just for a second, and everyone on the bridge felt cold. I am human, she said softly. And that is enough. Then she vanished. No flash, no sound, just gone. The crew stared at the empty space where she had stood. Seconds later, power returned to the ship. Controls lit up, systems reactivated. But 5 ships were still missing, and they weren't coming back. The Devourer turned around. For the first time in its history, it fled, and Earth watched, silent as ever. But somewhere beneath its surface, the heartbeat continued. Thump, thump, thump. The Devourer moved through space, quiet, fast, and afraid. Captain Relin sat in silence on the bridge. His hands shook slightly. No one spoke. The crew avoided each other's eyes. They had seen many strange things in their careers, but nothing like this. 5 Imperial ships were still missing. Not destroyed, not captured, just erased. And the woman, she appeared out of nowhere. She walked calmly through their most secure ship. She gave a message. Then she vanished, like mist in sunlight. Sensors said she was real, but no one believed she was only human. Relin turned to Viel. Send a report to the Imperial High Command. Viel hesitated. And what do we tell them? Relin took a deep breath. Tell them. Earth said no, and we couldn't change that. Viel looked at the captain. They won't believe it. They will, Relin replied. After what we saw, they have to. Back on Earth, Commander Rains stood inside. A quiet command room, no lights, no sounds. Just a massive screen showing the Imperial fleet turning away. He didn't smile. He didn't relax. He knew this wasn't over. Earth never trusted the galaxy. Not after what happened centuries ago. Earth had been part of the stars once, but something happened. Something dark. So Earth left, disconnected all gates, blocked all paths. Now the stars were coming back, and Earth remembered. Deep below ground, the heartbeat continued. Thump, thump, thump. Rains opened a channel. A woman's face appeared on the screen. It was the same one who appeared on the Sai. Imperial ship. She didn't smile either. It's begun, hasn't it? Yes, Rains said. They'll send more. Let them. Rains hesitated. They'll bring bigger ships, deadlier weapons. The woman looked into the screen. We've faced worse. In orbit, satellites moved into place, silent, invisible, waiting. On the moon, long-buried systems, powered up, turrets turned, shields activated. Earth wasn't just waking up, it was preparing. Back on the Imperial capital, the Emperor himself watched the footage from the Devourer. His face stayed still, but his fingers clenched the armrests of his throne. What is this? He growled. His advisors whispered. Scientists reviewed the woman's image again and again. She had no implants. No known tech, one said. No energy field, no weapon signature, another added. She spoke with command over their systems. And she vanished. The Emperor stood. Find her. Study Earth. I want everything. History, culture, tech. I want to know what we're facing. One general stepped forward. Permission to form a research fleet. Granted, the Emperor said. And send the Blood Lance. Everyone froze. The Blood Lance was not for peace. It was the Empire's secret weapon, an AI-controlled war cruiser designed to erase civilizations. The Emperor spoke coldly. We offered them a chance to obey. They chose defiance. Now we answer. The research fleet and the Blood Lance left the capital within hours. Back on Earth, satellites detected movement. Rains got the alert. They're coming again, someone said. How many ships? Over 50. And one of them is different, the Wa. Image showed a massive ship, black and red, shaped like a blade. Blood Lance, Rains said. So they're serious. He didn't panic. He just turned to his team. Wake the sleeper. Everyone in the room paused. You're sure? Someone whispered. Rains nodded. Earth won't fire first, but it will not fall. Beneath the ocean, machines moved. A deep rumble echoed across the Pacific floor. Something old, something sealed long ago, was waking. And in space, the new Imperial fleet entered the system. This time they didn't speak. They came ready to attack, but Earth remained silent. Then, the stars around the fleet blinked. Not from light, but from something darker. Something behind the stars. Sensors screamed. Shields failed. The Blood Lance tried to fire, but its systems jammed. And in that moment, something rose from Earth's ocean. It was not a ship. It was not a machine. It was not something built. It was something born. And the galaxy had forgotten it. But Earth never did. The ocean split open. A tower of water rose toward the sky as something massive climbed from the deep. Every satellite in orbit shifted to focus on it. The shape was old, yet smooth, alive, yet silent, as if it had waited for this moment for thousands of years. Commander Rains stood in the command center, eyes fixed on the screen. It's awake, he whispered. The crew behind him stared in fear and awe. The thing that rose wasn't just large, it felt ancient, like a creature from Earth's forgotten past, one that had been locked away, not to protect it, but to protect the galaxy from it. In space, the Imperial fleet held position. The blood. Lance's captain tried to analyze the new threat. What is that? He demanded. His AI answered, voice calm. Unidentifiable, unknown energy type, movement pattern, not mechanical. It's a weapon, someone muttered. But it wasn't. Not just a weapon. It was Earth's guardian. Its skin glowed with deep blue light, like energy pulsing beneath its surface. Its eyes, if they were eyes, locked onto the Blood Lance from across space. And then it vanished. Gone. No warning, no charge up, just disappeared. The Blood Lance sounded alarms. Unknown object approaching at impossible speed. And then the hull exploded inward. From the outside, there was no flash, no impact, just silence. Then the warship tore apart, one piece at a time, as if invisible hands were peeling it open. The rest of the Imperial fleet turned to flee. These were trained warriors, hardened by 1,000 battles. But this was not war. This was judgment. Commander Rains watched from Earth. He said nothing. No orders, no celebration. This wasn't victory. This was defense. It was a warning. The woman who had appeared on the first Imperial ship stood again before a console. They saw, she said. Now they'll tell the others. They'll think we're monsters, someone replied. No, she said quietly. They'll think twice before returning. Far across the stars, the few surviving ships jumped. Back to the Empire. Broken, shaken, scared. The Emperor stood silent, listening to the captain's report. They didn't attack us first, the captain said, still trembling. They waited. Watched. But when we brought the Blood Lance... The Emperor narrowed his eyes. What did they use? I don't know, the captain said. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a weapon. It felt alive. The Emperor turned to his advisors. What did Earth awaken? No one answered. The room stayed silent, and then a whisper came from the shadows. An old scientist who had studied Earth centuries ago. They didn't awaken anything, he said. It was never asleep. The council looked at him. What do you mean? The Emperor asked. Earth, the old man said, has always been like this. We just forgot. They walked away from the stars, not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to choose silence. He turned slowly, and now they've chosen to speak. On Earth, the creature returned to the ocean. No one followed it. No one controlled it. It went back where it came from. And the skies were quiet again, but not forgotten. In schools across the galaxy, new warnings were added to textbooks. Do not approach Sol system. Do not engage with Earth. If contact is made, do not threaten, because now the galaxy knew. Earth was not just another world, it was a place of secrets, strength, and silence. And when that silence broke, the stars trembled. The stars had gone quiet. After the destruction of the Bloodlance, after the Empire's retreat, after the awakening of Earth's ancient guardian, no one dared approach the Sol system again. But Earth had not forgotten. Inside the Earth Defense Command, Commander Rains sat alone. The war was over before it began, but peace, he knew, was never quiet. It was just the pause between questions. The door opened. The woman, the one the Empire feared, walked in without a word. Rains looked up at her. "They'll come back," he said. She nodded. "Not soon, but someday. They'll want answers. They'll want power." Rains sighed. "Do we give them either?" "No," she replied. "We give them the truth." And that truth was simple. Earth had once been like them, hungry for the stars, building fleets, creating weapons, exploring everything. But then something changed. Earth saw what the galaxy became: empires, slavery, fear, and turned away. Humans had walked among the stars thousands of years ago. They had shaped galaxies, rewritten laws of physics, even tried to control time itself. And then, they stopped. Too powerful, too dangerous. So they hid. Not because they were weak, but because they feared themselves. The great guardian beneath the ocean? It wasn't a weapon. It was a warning, a reminder to all humans. This is what happens when we stop choosing peace. Now, Earth watched again. Silently. Not to rule, not to conquer, but to protect. Elsewhere, deep in Empire space, the survivors of the failed invasion gathered in secret. Some called Earth a monster. Some called it a myth. But one young diplomat, who had seen Earth with her own eyes, stood before them. "We came to take," she said. "We thought Earth was silent because it was small, but it was silent because it remembered what we had forgotten." She held up a black shard, recovered from the ruins of the Bloodlance. It pulsed softly with blue light. "They didn't destroy us. We destroyed ourselves. By refusing to listen." She stepped forward. "There is strength in Earth's silence. But also mercy," the crowd murmured. "Maybe," she said, "they aren't our enemy. Maybe they are what we should become." The idea spread slowly, across systems, across ships, across the stars. Maybe Earth wasn't a threat. Maybe it was a mirror, and those who stared into it didn't like what they saw. Back on Earth, life returned to normal. Cities buzzed, people laughed. Children played under the same stars that once threatened war. Commander Rains stood on a balcony, looking up at the night sky. A quiet voice came from beside him. It was the woman again. "They still fear us." "They should," Rains said. "But do we fear ourselves?" He thought about it for a long time. "No," he said. "Not anymore." A ship lifted off from a hidden base in the desert. It wasn't a warship. It was sleek, peaceful, built not for power, but for understanding. Earth was ready to return to the stars. This time, not to rule, but to guide, to warn, to protect, and perhaps, to forgive. The stars watched in silence as Earth rose again. Not with fire, but with light. The galaxy would never forget the day Earth said not allowed, because it wasn't just a refusal. It was a message. You may be many, but we are human, and we remember.